So I'll start off with a quick story that I wrote, and then I'll end with some changes that we can all make in our own lives to better the environment and the earth. The year is 1800, and the location is the Bank of Nature. Hi there, welcome to the Bank of Nature. How may we be of assistance? A loan, yes. How much were you imagining? Oh, I assure you, humankind, we here at Nature are plenty able to meet your needs. We have, in fact, been building our resources for billions of years. What type of project is your species planning to embark on? Industrialization. Oh, no, we are currently able to meet those needs. I apologize, human. We get nervous when species ask for such large investments. And if I'm being frank, you've asked for quite a bit. What do I mean? Well, your ancestors took out loans under projects titled multicellular organisms, vertebrates. This one was quite pricey here. Neural connections called a brain, poorly named in my opinion. Opposable thumbs. How are those working out for you guys? Good? And then a brain project extension titled consciousness. And now you're asking for another sum for industrialization. Many species don't realize the consequences of failed industrialization. Now's the time when you ask, what consequences could there be? So I'll go ahead and tell you a few. Exacerbated poverty, environmental degradation, a collapse of interspecial and extraspecial biodiversity, which, by the way, you rely on every day for ecosystem stability. That means keeping you humans fed. And as a result, a rise in food inequities and disparities, polluted waterways, airways, and neighborhoods, a magnification of social issues, an increased divide in soon-to-be developed and underdeveloped nations, an increase in cancer, asthma, and... Oh, those diseases haven't been created yet. Would you like me to go on? The side effects list is quite long. No, you just want the paperwork. Well, let me say one last thing about this specific loan. This loan depletes practically all remaining resources that we have here. And frankly, there are no other banks. There is no Planet B. The contract reads as follows. I, humankind, acknowledge all inherent risks associated with industrialization. I agree to not overexploit natural resources. I agree to not enrich uranium, plutonium, hydrogen, and other radioactive elements. I agree to not overconsume. I will use the benefits of industrialization to decrease the wealth gap. And last but not least, I will not burn the Amazon rainforest. Trust me, you'd be surprised. The year is 2019. The location is everywhere. A letter is delivered to every human in industrialized nations on Earth by owl. It reads as follows. Dear human, it's your good friend Nature. I hope the industrialization thing is going well. Unfortunately, you've broken every stipulation in the contract. Allow us at Nature, the one institution advanced enough to provide you with the universal elixir dog videos, to issue you one final warning. You're traveling down a one-way road at an ever-increasing pace. As you exhaust your fuel, the resources of this loan, you're further from where you fuel up. That's us. The speedometer of human progress has begun to stutter. The fuel gauge of Nature's accommodating capacity is past E. I would say you're burning the midnight oil, but it's more like you're burning the extinction oil. What progress have you humans made? You now receive packages of things within the same day of ordering them. Every household has a wasteful machine to wash the food off of devices you eat food off of, a wasteful machine to make your clothing wet, and then another machine to make your clothing dry. What is the cost of this convenience you are so devoted to? You develop nations with boundless evidence and resources to both recognize and combat climate change, remain paralyzed by the paradox of one, as though the patterns of your own existence should remain constant at the expense of the existence of your own brethren. Humans, this is your greatest threat yet. It is not enough to believe the fallacy that humankind always survives. Rather, humankind may survive. The moral arc of the universe does bend towards justice, but are we ignorant enough to miss the turn? Camille, Katrina, Isabel, Florence, Matthew, Irene, Dorian, Sandy. Need I say more? What is the power of one? I'll tell you. The power of one is endless and unlimited. One vote and one voice are powerful. You alone have the buying power to change corporate America. Do not buy more than you absolutely need. Think about the environment before anything else. This experiment, Earth, life, humanity, it's all in your hands. Will you be remembered as someone who was so stuck in their ways they forgot to bring the reusable bags? Or will you be someone who uses less, buys less, and contributes less waste to save humankind? The choice is yours, and you, dear human, have the power of one. Sincerely, Nature. That's a piece I wrote just a couple weeks ago. Thank you. I delivered a portion of that speech to the global climate strike in Stanton this morning, and they are joining the forces here in Lexington to combat this huge problem. On to the second portion. What are some things that we can implement in our own lives to create real change in the grand scheme of things? I'll start with a statistic. The amount of water that it takes to raise 1 pound of beef is an equivalent amount of water to 6 months of showering for the average American. Animal agriculture is one of the largest greenhouse gas contributors. And by cutting our meat consumption by just 1 pound a week, we can save 6 months of showering of water per week. That's a very small step that we can each institute. Now, I try to avoid meat as best I can, but there are times where it's pretty much unavoidable, and you have to, and that's okay. When you're facing a problem as huge as climate change, it's important to take care of yourself and remember that every single thing you do makes a difference. Another huge thing you can do is compost. Food waste, when we throw it in the garbage and it goes to the landfill, it's covered and it breaks down anaerobically, which means without the presence of oxygen. And when organic material breaks down anaerobically, instead of breaking down and creating compost for the soil, it produces methane, which is a greenhouse gas, and in fact is 21 times more potent to warming the planet than carbon dioxide. So a simple step, like composting your own food waste, can reduce emissions significantly. The half-life of methane isn't the same as carbon dioxide. That is a disclaimer of sorts. But it is an enormous step that you can take in your own life. Another huge step is to realize that we as individuals have an enormous control over the market. Supply and demand still hold. If we decrease the demand for single-use plastics, then companies have no incentive to continue to produce them. So going to the grocery store, and when you pick up a carton of milk, making sure that it's recyclable, or ensuring that you have ways to recycle everything that you buy, is a tremendous way to help shape the market. It's important to remember to do every single thing you can. Every tiny contribution helps. It may only be a drop in the ocean, but besides the plastic, what is an ocean but a collection of drops? Thank you.